Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest in hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. Glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We have an awesome show lined up for you today, and Mr. Don King is my co-host.
Yes, sir, Jason. Hey, how about a radio station shout-out?
Let's do it.
Yeah, WKRM, Columbia, down Columbia, Tennessee way. And you can hear us live on the radio at 11 a.m. on Saturdays. So
that's a pretty good time slot.
Yeah, we appreciate them and all our other radio partners as well.
Yeah. And appreciate you guys out there watching and listening on YouTube and your favorite podcasting platform. However you take in the show, we just appreciate y'all. It's a new year, and we're excited about what 2026 holds.
I know.
I had to think about it for a minute.
I have to get used to saying that and writing it down. Yeah. I usually make about 2 mistakes, just write 25 2 more times.
Yeah. Well, today is all about preparing for the next season.
Yeah.
Looking ahead to the next deer and turkey season. Now's a great time to be scouting, and we got Mr. Phillip Culpepper with us today from Hunt Club TV, and he's going to be joining us and telling us all his secrets.
And he's had a great season. Man.
I appreciate y'all having me. I was waiting on Rocky Top to come in on the music.
Well, we know we got a Georgia fan or an Auburn fan. What
I'm a hybrid. I'm a Georgia and Auburn.
Okay.
So probably more Georgia now since I'm married. Cause
married into Georgia.
Yeah, my wife's a Wildcat. If you're a Georgia fan, she'll run you out the house.
There you go. I didn't want to rub it in too bad, or put that Tennessee on you. But we love football. It's a great time of year to be outdoors. Fall is a great time of year, and cheering on our favorite football teams and getting outdoors. But as the season's closing, or it has closed, we're looking towards the future and what's next. And we thought it'd be cool to have Phillip come in and chat about scouting. But first, I just want to learn about you. Tell folks about who you are, what you do, and kind of how you started your career in the outdoors.
Yeah, I mean, man, my biggest... I got kicked off when I was 5 years old. My dad took me turkey hunting, and I feel like even before I could remember it, the bug bit me, and I got addicted to it. And growing up just north of Columbus, Georgia, right within 20 minutes where the Realtree camouflage offices were, I grew up just watching VHS tapes, and this is back before the DVD. So there's probably people listening to this don't even know what a DVD is.
Probably going, what's a VHS?
Yeah, what is a VHS? and again, that was even on the heels of the TNN days of watching. You used to have all. I mean, it would be like, you'd have Mossy Oak show, Realtree show, and Buckmasters. That was about all you could get, you know. And
Gary Morris doing his
Tecumate and all that. Yeah. But it was. Anyways, that was kind of where I fell in love with the before I even knew anything about it, the filming side. And so I wanted, being right there in Realtree's kind of their headquarters, right around the suburb there, I went and just filled out an application and packed boxes for about a year and a half in there before I ever even saw a camera. And I just wanted to run a camera, So, and finally I fell into it to where David Blanton gave me a chance and started filming a little bit. And that's where, I always loved to hunt, and I never started, I just wanted to film. Like, I just wanted to be kind of one of the guys on the crew filming hunts. Like, how can I stay outside and be around hunting as much as I possibly can? And that was the avenue that I thought I could go down, And then with that, I fell in love with the storytelling aspect and documenting it. And obviously, like we were talking about here earlier, times have changed significantly just since them days, from the actual cameras you would carry to even now how you're airing them and getting everybody. Here we are on a podcast. Back then, nobody even knew what a podcast was.
Right.
It's crazy how far it's come, but I've been super blessed. And, like I said, it's some people don't understand that it is still a job, and you gotta make sacrifices and grind, but it's something I love to do, be in the outdoors. And there are days you're like, man, I don't want to go, or when you've done it for 15, 20 days in a row, but it's a true blessing to be able to get to do it and just kind of create stories and bring them to fruition and share them with folks.
Yeah, share them with folks for sure. Well, tell us a little bit about a mentor that stood out to you. I know you mentioned David, but what's another mentor?
Yeah, probably the obviously being around the Realtree guys coming up, somebody who's really taken me like under their wing, like a big brother, would be Michael Waddell. Just from early on, from filming the road trip days of I think we did kind of have a lot of similarities between just loving to hunt and kind of just how do you fix that passion? Well, I got to go learn how to run a camera, because I was never tech savvy on anything, whether computer wise or running a camera, to where he kind of was in that mold too, kind of earlier on. And so I mean, but he has even away from things professionally, just as a friend and everything, he's always been somebody I've kind of leaned on.
Cool.
So I've been super blessed, and he's very knowledgeable, obviously, and probably one of, if not the best to ever do it. So I mean, he's always been there, kind of been in my corner. So
well, hey, do you remember what was your first camera that they gave you to?
Oh man, it was the old. This was back before we ever even had the HD. Because I remember when HD came along.
Oh yeah,
like, holy cow! I had the disc. I mean, it was I was after the Betacam days, but it was like the Sony. I think it was the Sony 300s was the. It was almost like a mini VHS tape.
Okay, yeah.
And then they went to the mini DV, which it was weird, because as time progressed, that we used to always have like a little Sony for behind the scenes stuff, and then we had our big cameras with the big lens, and it was like for the tree and for being able to really reach out there and film.
And touch,
And then it started going to. I remember I was very skeptical when it went to mini DV, and I'm like, man, that's something don't, like, it was a little bitty tape, and I'm like, something don't look right. And so then it went on to I'll remember we were at Realtree, and Daniel Thomas had just came on board, and I'd been there a while, and they and Daniel's still there today. He runs all the video stuff, but they went to SD cards.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, he's like, man, this is the way this is the way it's going. You look how quick you can dump the footage, and I'm like. So I was like, "How are you gonna fit?" I was like, "There ain't no way."
It's like,
but I mean, in the days of coming up, like when I first started, even on the editing side, you would go get put the tape in the deck and go through and have to log every footage.
Oh, right, yeah.
All the footage of everything, which it helped me honestly. Because you knew what was there. You pretty much watched the whole tape raw before you even started editing. But you would have to go log inside the time code and go digitize it in, and it took up so much space, and it was so time consuming to where I was like, you'd see somebody just drop an SD card on a desktop, and you're like, man, that's. I was like, where's it go? I was like, we're gonna lose footage. Like, it didn't even make sense. Because we had it at Realtree. We had an entire room twice the size of this with shelves. Roller shelves with nothing but tapes.
Yeah.
And I remember forget there were tapes all the way back to like 96, 97 of the big beta tapes of footage of stuff to where you would, when you needed to go find footage, like, man, what about, when Bill missed stickers in Wyoming, you go and look at the date, and it's like going to the library.
Yeah.
And so I was like, now it's all just backlogged and on a server somewhere. And I'm like, man, this is like mind blowing.
We've got one of those rooms down the hall too.
Oh, it's crazy. But it's obviously changed the game and allowing, not only making it easier for people who've always done it on document and stuff, but it's allowed people to, I think, carry on the passion and kind of pass the torch. It's easier to find stuff to get into versus, back in the day having to go buy $80,000 camera rig to go, to go film. So,
exactly.
And to bring something that was good quality,
What you can shoot on the iPhone these days is
it's insane.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Well, you mentioned Michael Waddell. Go check out his podcast. He's got a cool podcast out there. You were on one of his shows, and
with this past summer, he's got a. I was up here hunting for Christmas. I was in a blind, and I was listening to one. He had one of Ned Yo, so I had it kind of on play when it was raining one day when them fronts came through. So
yeah, awesome. Well, and then Hunt Club TV came about.
What inspired you for that?
Man, it was never, I say not an intentional thing. It was just my passion grew. And when I was at Realtree, I started doing some hosting on Spring Thunder in 2018 and was hosting a lot of turkey episodes. And I just kind of had and I've always loved the deer hunt. And I mean, anything that's in season, just hunt, and so I don't want to say I got pigeonholed, but I was always kind of in the turkey side of things. We're like, oh man, you like to deer hunt? Like nobody knew. It's like I was, deer hunting, bow hunting, every chance I could, growing up. But and I had to kind of just had the vision of like, man, some of these stories it would be cool because I had some guys that were in a hunting club back home in Georgia, and it was just they were characters. And I mean, like one of them still he does stuff with us today. His name's Cheeseburgers, his nickname. So I mean, it's like just guys that love to hunt, and it was like, man, it may not be everybody in America, but there's a niche there of like he can tell a story better than I can, or he can tell a story better than you can. Like, man, that we need to embrace that.
Yeah.
And so that was just the idea, and like I didn't even know what I was going to call it at the time. I was like, it'd be cool to call it. So then I said, man, Hunt Club, because it was literally on our hunt land to where we did it on a little tract of 200 acres in Georgia where it all started. And like I said, I've always obviously hunted with my dad and got good friends around there that have been part of it and helped it. And it just kind of came to the point where I was at Realtree. It was like, man, it wasn't like turning my back on Realtree. They've been behind me from the beginning. They're like, man, if this is a passion you got to do, you want to do it. I just follow your passion. And it, like I said, even from what we're talking about, the camera wise to platforms you can get it out there digitally with the YouTubes and stuff. It just made it possible to go, take a venture like that on and just to, connect to. I just wanted to connect to everyday guys and just be like, tell that story. So
yeah. Well, people may say the good old days is now because deer hunting and turkey hunting is great.
Oh,
but
yeah.
back in the good old days, you were out there with family and friends, and that's what it was. You went to hunting camp or hunt club, and
100%. I remember. I remember
that
when I talk to my boys now. Tell them when I remember my dad would get me out of school on Friday at lunch, and we'd go and you'd go to the hunting club, the hunting camp all week. Like you didn't nothing else. There wasn't no cell phone. There wasn't no. The only thing I had with me was a pocket knife. Like that was it.
Yeah.
And then just that was the only thing stuck to your hip. I mean, but it was, and I do think that was a true therapy that we didn't even realize back then. Just a simpler way of just your biggest concern was what the weather and which way the wind was going to blow.
And then you're sharing that with your friends and family. And I look back on some of your shows from this past season, and Mercer got his first buck in
Thank the
Illinois.
Lord, yes, because that boy has been grinding. We've gone, and his twin brother Jonah is always he's always what I had a buddy in high school that's like Jonah, that's always just is the lucky one. Like I felt like I was Mercer growing up, to where I'm like, man, like this is where we need to be. This makes sense. And you grind and grind and grind. And then one day I take my buddy with me. I put him across the property and he kills a deer I'm hunting. So it's like Jonah's always, and Jonah, he's put in his time too. But he's Mercer. He got it a lot tougher. He had to grind a little harder to finally get his first buck.
And he was excited.
The wheels, man, the wheels come off. He was fired up. He didn't know up from down. So it was.
And on that same hunt, your dad got his first,
my dad
Illinois
got his
buck
first
with a
Illinois
gun
buck.
or something,
And so I'm glad that we were all up there. It worked out. He'd been up there bow hunting, and then when the gun season came in, he switched over, and so it was cool that we were all kind of happened to be there in camp. And like I said, that's
awesome.
Kind of just the high fiving and the storytelling of that's, obviously you'll remember, you can see it now. I'm like, oh yeah, man, remember, moment for moment, but in the end of the day, high fiving everybody being at camp's what you remember the most of. Just us celebrating success.
Yep. Well, let's change gears real quick. Scouting. I know folks are tuning in to hear this and are excited to get some info from you, but it's 2 weeks or so after the deer season, but now is a great time to still be in the woods. You can small game hunt, and it's a great time to scout. So tell folks what you're doing this time of year, maybe related to Tennessee, since most folks are listening out of Tennessee.
Yeah, and it's I've been hunting Tennessee. I've been living up here for about 3 years, but I've been hunting up here for probably close to 20. Got some good friends up here, so it's neat to be able to compare it from what I'm from. From being in Georgia, where my mind's going right now is full blown turkey mode. So I'll never forget when I came up here the first time when I was, it's been, I wish I knew what year. I have to pull it. I've probably got a picture somewhere. I came here to my buddy Tyler Farr's place, and I'll never forget. I called my dad after the first day of hunting. I said, man, this is heaven. Like there ain't no other place to go. Like there's turkeys everywhere. I grew up, you had to like fight, scratch, and claw just to hear one, and like let alone ride around and to see strutters, everywhere. So, and I feel like the numbers are obviously coming back better than what they've been. I feel like we got hit a little bit a few years ago, but my mind, even you back up even into the deer season, man, I was already taking notes and tabs. And again, we keep talking about technology changing. I think nowadays with Onyx and any kind of digital mapping, whatever you see, you can be dropping pins on to where, for me, I try to just personally, I highlight everything blue that I do for turkey. So I'll be, when I'm deer hunting, if I hear turkeys about to fly off the roost down on the river or something, I'll mark it to where I was in. You can kind of go back now and analyze everything. Then I like to go in there and kind of put boots on the ground, and just see what the turkeys are doing. Because obviously they're going to change it up between now in turkey season, but they're still going to be generally in the same area. If they like roosting in a particular spot, or they like, how they're traveling, whether you're looking for droppings or tracks, whatever it may be. Or, right now is a great time just to get a head count on what you got, what you got to work with on your property, even on running trail cameras. We had a section on our one of our leases we got that they just select cut. So they run the roads like highways, so I mean, even just running cameras on that just to see what a sheer number of how many you got to hunt is, obviously the limits too, but I've always said this, I feel like every man sets his own quota inside what the quota is, to where if you think you only need to take one or two, you got buddies, whatever it is, family, right. I mean, I got, with me and my kids, I got a whole, and my wife, she likes to turkey hunt a little bit, so I mean, I got a whole bluegrass band to take, so you got to figure out how you're going to divide it, divide it up.
You're not pulling the trigger this year, right?
Yeah, it is crazy, man. Even people is like Waddell's a good example, because he takes a lot of folks. He'll always normally call me like in thirds of the season, like, hey, how many have you killed? Because we'll always keep a running tally of like how many turkeys we've seen die just traveling the country.
Okay.
And then he'll be like, no, how many have you killed? And I'll be like, man, I like one. Like, because you're always, it's a blessing to do, especially folks that are just getting into it, to take them, but before you'll get to go tacking on the days. Man, I ain't even carried a gun in like 3 weeks,
You're always behind the camera.
Right.
Well, speaking of cameras, the trail cams and stuff, I think that's a good tool for people who even have a smaller tract of land, to know what's coming in off those bigger tracts 100%. Around you, and crossing your property, because you're not, like for me, I got a small spot. Yeah. I don't have a lot of turkeys on it, I don't think. They're all coming from different spots and coming.
Well, and it's like the old Eddie Salter, what he used to told me. He was like, man, I ain't worried about having turkeys on my property. I need a piece of property that touches where turkeys are at. To where, I mean, but that holds true to no different than deer hunting, deer passing through, because I think, we can do our own work and sweat equity and manipulating things how we want to make it, whether it's bush hogging stuff, whether it's planting, what we want for the spring, planting, go ahead and right now and frost seeding some clover in to where you got some fresh growth, or go ahead and which I think the biggest misconception on people thinking about what you want for turkeys right now is letting some of that stuff grow up. Like me personally, one of our leases that I was talking about earlier, it's getting pretty thick, which typically you're looking at my turkeys like, man, golly, it's great for deer, but turkeys. But I'm excited about it because I've seen more turkeys gravitate to that for nesting reasons. And a lot of people don't think about that. They want it just wide open like a golf course.
Yeah.
When you look at a hen, when they obviously start breeding, they're going to find a spot to nest and lay eggs. They need some cover. They need that diversity of tall and short, to where they can have, whenever they do hatch, to get away. Well, obviously they got to have food, but they don't want just, like a putting green out there, because
right.
that they're going to be a buffet for a hawk or, right. owl, whatever it may be. So,
yeah,
I think that's something important to look at. Anybody that is doing some changes, or, even planning on the way into next year, let some stuff get up to have some escape for them turkeys, even when they hatch out them poults, they can have somewhere to hide,
Yeah. No, that's important. The predators are a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
So, you got to have that good habitat.
And all your turkeys now, like I said, they're all obviously wadded up pretty good right now, flocked up. But, them longbeards, they're going to find them hens. And them hens, they're going to find where they can nest. And, and they're worried about carrying the torch on. They ain't worried about this turkey season as much as like they're going to be somewhere where they feel safe and feel like they can raise a family.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, let's talk about deer real quick. So, we've been hunting hard. Now the season's over, but we, like I said, it's a good time to be out there. What are you looking for as far as like rubs, scrapes, bedding areas? What are you looking for to kind of inform yourself for the next season?
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, Onyx is almost like a cheat tool, being able to just mark that stuff to where that's, especially early season before the foliage gets on in turkey season, it's almost you're obviously turkey hunting, but I'm scouting too for deer. You know, whether it's how they're running ridges, you know, what scrapes are leaving, what rubs are leaving, you know, what's this year's rub versus, you know, what's the past few years if they change the way they're traveling. You know, I think any woodsman just going to be really successful has got to pay attention to that stuff to try to keep a leg up, you know, on how deer are traveling, what they're using, what they're doing, whether it's crossing a creek, whether it's how they're pinching down through a bottom, you know, even down to what, you know, you can be looking at it, you know, whole acorn holes of what trees have been dropping. So, I mean, I think any of that stuff to keep tally with year round is when you put the pieces of the puzzle together, it makes you successful.
Well, this year was definitely a mass crop year where it was very good. And I think the deer were more in the woods than they were out in the fields this year, because I saw more deer in the woods, and they were kind of held up in there because of such a good mass crop.
Right. No, I agree. And it was even all the way up to where we hunted in Ohio. It was like that, to where it was, you know, that they had if you want to say kind of an option B, to where they didn't have to come out, you know, as much. So it's again, it still obviously makes them killable. You just got to do your homework more.
Right. Yeah. Be selective, be able to move, be mobile, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do we got here? What about changes in weather in the season? So, like, you know, right now it's bare bones in the woods. You can see distance pretty far. You know, how do you change out your scouting and your preparations for the next seasons as the weather and the seasons change?
Well, I mean, I pay attention, like, especially if we're talking about deer right now. I think super critical of what you're coming. If we're coming right here off deer season, is pay attention of, like, all right, if I want to hunt, say most acorns are gone, but these deer are still running this ridge, you know, and it's obviously bare bones I can see, is where can I be, or how can I access things to where I'm not going to blow the woods out? Because this year is what I call the domino effect. You know, if you bump one deer, you may bump 20 getting in there, to where I think if you are looking toward next year saying, okay, I've already got this set, I can stay hidden on this ridge and get in the stand, or I can access this to and from coming without blowing all the woods up. You know, I think, to me, right this time of year is one of the most critical things, is just keeping things unmolested to where you can come and go, because I feel like a lot of your stand, I mean, there's some really, really good spots to hunt, but I feel like you can't get in there without blowing it out, because if you get in there and blow all the deer out, it ain't going to be any good anyway.
Right,
so I feel like, you know, your entrance and exit is as much as critical as where your stand placement is.
Well, I think maps come into play there too, or your Onyx and things like that, because when I go hunt other properties, I'm like, I really don't know where to go in.
Right.
You know, what spot I don't want to jump. This looks really good on the map.
And you can, I think right now too, even looking at, you know, saying you're looking at a map, and you can go in there now and it makes sense. It looks a lot better before you go in there when there's a bunch of leaves on it, whether you're looking at a saddle or a pinch point, or, you know, something that, you know, all the way down to, I've always said turkey hunting is a game of inches. Like, if you have a 2-inch elevation change, it could change the world and be able to slip up and get closer to a turkey. Deer the same way. You know, whether, say, you find a route to follow inside the creek bank or the river bank to get to and from your stand, or you just keep everything from walking across a wide open ridge. You know, I think it makes a difference.
Yeah, it's you may have to take the long way.
Right, you may have to put a little more miles on, but you can get there. It just depends on how bad you want it.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Well,
what other common mistakes might you warn hunters about?
Man, I've
next year.
And it's you know, I've learned this a lot. I've paid attention to it, learned it, really seen it firsthand more in Ohio the past couple of years hunting. But the hills here, you know, are a lot the same as spots here in Tennessee. Is just paying attention to the thermals, because, you know, even, you know, the old Georgia redneck, you'd look at the wind like, southwest, all right, so just anything good with southwest. But when it's not, a front's really not pushing through, it's just them thermals are always going to suck down, or, you know, and when it's warmer, they're going to suck up. So it's like paying attention to that, because I've even noticed it. And again, I brought them lessons learned back here to Tennessee, because the deer, even how they travel, they're paying attention to it. Like, why are they in a particular spot, particular time? Because they're running them thermals, and they're staying, you know, more in their relaxed zone, which is typically you get more daylight activity doing that. To where if you can access those spots and figure those spots out, you know, I think that's one of the biggest keys, you know, that I've learned in hunting these hills like this up here.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Good tips, good tricks. As we're running out of time here, I thought maybe it would be cool to share some of your past experiences, some of your hunting stories, something that paid off or something that stood out to you through your efforts, and one of the hunts that just, left a mark on you in your past?
Man, especially, which I try to regulate myself a little bit deer hunting. Turkey hunting, I kind of just, sometimes you just throw the kitchen sink at them. But, one of my biggest things is just to never give up, don't quit. I mean, we had a turkey a few years ago that it was, man, we were on him and couldn't get him killed. So like he whooped us every way we can, and to where he was, and again, you talk about elevation changes and what you can and can't do. The turkeys were easing off, going to roost, and that they were just working that way. And man, there's just, I remember just saying, I forgot, I had somebody with me filming. I was like, man, if they'll just get over that lip. Like, we had done tried everything we can. I was like, man, we don't need no decoy. Like, we don't need them to even know we're in the world. We don't throw your turkey calls away. It's like just going Mohican sneaking on them. And again, like you just sit there and watch and wait. And if you play your scenarios out in your head, and it may be stuff with deer, but this situation obviously was a turkey, and he'd gotten that one little dip of that crevice we can make a move on and belly crawl up to get within front of them, to where I think it's just keeping an open mind on things of if you ever get defeated in your head, then you've lost the battle. To where it's always figure out, not throwing any shade at deer or turkeys, but they are just an animal. They're worried about eating, breeding, and sleeping. Like, that's the three things they're doing. To where beating them at their own game is just figuring out where those weaknesses are, how we can manipulate that. I think is the key to success more times than not.
Yeah, catch them off guard or just learn their habits. And
100%. Like I said, they're typical. They are a creature of habit, and they can do anything, but just figure out put yourself in the best position and stay positive.
Yeah. Well, like we mentioned before, Hunt Club TV, go check it out on YouTube. Facebook's got a website, huntclubtv.com. You can probably find everything you need right there. But watch these types of shows.
Yeah.
I think about the hunting public and things like that, too. They're fun to watch.
I love what Phillip's doing in the recruiting end. He's got his family out there.
Well, and that's what it's about. So.
Friends, and he's all about promoting it.
Yeah. So
that's
get out there
cool.
and watch it and learn from it, because they're doing it. They're doing the real thing. And
yep.
And especially turkey hunt, we're getting ramped up. We're about to have an overload. So you're gonna love us or hate us.
I feel another show coming on. What do you?
Yeah, would you stick around to a turkey show one of these days?
Absolutely. Let's talk it.
We'll have it back for some turkey episodes. I think that'd be fun to introduce folks to that and some of his tips and tricks on that.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Well, this is Tennessee WildCast. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you next time.
Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org. And follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. You can invest in Tennessee's wildlife future by purchasing a license at GoOutdoorsTennessee.com. That's GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.